Enough of the code switching, been hitting my soul, been on the ropes, I'm ready to grow, so get to know me. Keep your head up, I want you to grow with me.
See the scroll on me, want you to glow with me.
Yeah, alright, okay, we get it.
I watched your video. It was one of the most recent videos that you did regarding the Andrew Tate situation. If you notice, I made the little Andrew Tate remark. I agree with what you're saying here because I think there's an issue that the moment you say something that people just automatically disagree with, it comes to a point where it's cancel. Mm-hmm. And I've even seen it in myself being somebody on a smaller scale where I'll say something on TikTok and it seems like TikTok is like the easiest thing to get videos taken down. And I made videos where I disagree with which may seem to be the mainstream opinion. And instead of people coming and really having a discussion with me, because Isaac knows I have no problems with having a discussion with somebody I disagree with. We disagree on 90% of the things we talk about. We've known each other for over 15 years. So it kind of does feel weird when instead of having that debate, having that open space, you just go straight into cancel mode.
Yep.
So how do you think we can get to that point where people understand that there is a better way to go about these things? Because I feel like what is going on here is more eyes are being put on Andrew Tate than ever before because of him being in this light. I'm gonna be honest with you. And so I saw your first video about his fights. I didn't know who the dude was. Mm-hmm. So where do we go to prevent that from being a situation? Is there anything we can do?
Well, I'll answer in two parts. First, with the latter. So basically, like you said, this is giving Andrew Tate more attention than anything before. Because what happens is when you try to cancel somebody, oftentimes when you cancel them, you stop them from not only getting exposure, but almost the source that brings them revenue. The interesting thing about Andrew Tate is he made his money off of the internet. So although they can try to cancel him and silence him, he already has the resources to where he can come right back. His life will not get changed if he were to never return back to social media because he makes his money outside of the public image. So oftentimes when somebody wants to cancel you, they're canceling people whose life depends on the public image. Andrew Tate's not that kind of person. And as for what is necessary to try to fix things, I would love to say it's just discourse, but the only way to have discourse with people who don't want to have discourse is to force discourse. So I'm not saying invade their spaces and now force a conversation. You have to stand your ground to where they cannot continually try to, we're going to silence you. No. I'm not going to conform. I'm not going to try to change, what my thought process is. If I don't believe that changing it is true, you have to force the discourse. So that's the only way that we'll be able to move forward and change it. Because as I stated in the video, I'm not some staunch supporter of Andrew Tate. Now, granted, I've absorbed a number of his content to where it's popping up. It's impossible to try to avoid him now. His videos are everywhere. But when you listen to it in long form, it makes sense. For the vast majority of what I've heard, it makes sense. Now, there's extreme opinions that he has as well. But then with that, you can refute it through discourse. So ultimately, I think the only way to move forward with this situation is to actually have a conversation and extend the olive branch, which he's willing to do so because he said himself, right after I dropped my video, the very next day, he did his final goodbye that was shared everywhere. And he mentioned discourse maybe like 17 times in the video. So it's all about being the willingness to have the conversation and the attempt to have comprehension. So that's ultimately what I think it will be.
Also, I want to add that right after he was taking off everything, he also just Thursday was on one of, I want to say, the most watched news show on cable TV in Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
So really, what did you succeed in?
And he's on
Rumble.
He's on Rumble. Yeah.
So Would you say that this is why, as far as discourse goes, I agree. I agree 100% that there needs to be some kind of discourse towards it, and I think forcing the discourse is at some point going to have to happen. But I think the reason why a lot of people don't like discourse is because we live now in the days where nobody wants to be wrong.
Yep.
Everybody wants to have their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. They can have that opinion. The problem is nobody wants to talk to anybody because they think, oh, if I talk to you, you're going to try and change my opinion. Yep. And said, no, I just want to get a better understanding of it. So when I encounter it, I can, navigate appropriately. Like with Andrew Tate, I don't think, now, granted, he has a lot of things I don't personally agree with, but I'd be willing to, at least talk to him, like personally, face to face, to see about it, and then I'll navigate through there, but the fact that he got eliminated off of the stuff, like you said, it only does make him bigger. It really does.
Yeah.
Which I think is so wild. Like, we're just making these people like him martyrs, even though when they shouldn't be. You're making them even more of martyrs.
And you know what's interesting about Andrew Tate as well is he's a little different from everybody else who I like to target him more towards in the manosphere. So somebody who speaks up for men and is against, what's going on with the media where everything is positive towards women. So it's somebody who challenges women. What makes him different from everybody else is he's the guy women want, and he's also the guy that men aspire to be on the base level. Because you're looking at somebody who has the height, has the sex appeal, has the money, has the women, has the origin story. Everything is all there. And he's pretty much the entire package for what the internet is looking for from somebody. So because that's the case, both sides, and it's amazing how big of a female following he has as well. Because the way they portrayed everything was like, this is a dude, like they tried to make it seem like the people who never listened to a video of his, seen any of his content, seen any of his interview, they made it seem like this was some basement dweller incel or whatever. No, he's not that at all. So because that's the case, it's a very interesting situation because the canceling of him will make more people raise their eyebrows like, wait a minute, something's not right here. Right. Some not cool here. So with what's going on, and like you said, they're making him a martyr despite the fact that he's still here. Like, you can't escape him.
Right. And it's like, I don't even think that was their intention, because like when I think about it, like he does have all those things, and the kind of thing we need to be careful of, well, he needs to be careful of, and I'm sure he's aware of this. You're going to have people who are going to see him and take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I'm just doing what Andrew Tate told me how I should live my life. And I was like, yeah, but you just hit that woman with your car and said you were being a man. What? No, that's not not how that works.
Yeah.
I don't think I brought this to Isaac yet, but I've been listening to other people talk about him. And I got this from a political commentator. And I kind of want to see how y'all feel about this take. He said the people that look to Andrew Tate in that light that you just said usually probably are a product of bad fathers, not good fathers. The lack of good fathers is why you have people like Andrew Tate, fresh and fit, Sotomayor, and all these other people within the manosphere being so popular. Mm-hmm. And I almost feel like you can kind of even look at that even with like on the other side with your Cynthia G's and all these other people like your divestors and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree, because a lot of time people they need a influence per se. A lot of times with a lot of single parent households, or even just coming up, nobody has that role model, somebody who's already done it and gives it to them straight. Because as you said earlier, Isaac, nobody wants to have the discourse because they don't want to be wrong, but at the exact same time, they don't want to be embarrassed. But somebody like Fresh and Fit, Sotomayor, Tommy Sotomayor, Kevin Samuels, Andrew Tate, when they're talking to men, it's cutthroat. Straight to the jugular. And that's one of the things that I find so interesting is whenever they talk about men, look at the way they talk to women, but they talk to men the exact same way. Now, granted, women are a bit more emotional, so they're gonna internalize that different. But if you look at a single parent household on average and what's being instilled into those men, they're not getting the traditional male values. Like, and it's at its core, what are these guys telling guys to do? To improve, to become the best version of themselves. And oftentimes they're telling the men to be the provider. They're telling the men to cover everything and make sure that they achieve, the financial status, but also they get themselves right to be able to get the woman. So like you said earlier, and there's the guys that'll obviously take it to the extreme, but those are the guys who don't qualify for the information, because what's information without application? It's just info that's in your head. You got to be able to apply it. So when Andrew Tate and everybody else in the Rollo Tomasi, everybody else, and they're talking, if you're not actively bettering yourself, but you only pick and choose the certain things that he says, and then you try to take it to the extreme, it's never going to work. You're not going to be able to swim with about 10 different women if you have no money or whatever. It's going to wear off. You can only lie for so long.
Right.
I agree with that 100%. Because
you hit it right on.
Yeah, like like you hit it. Honestly, you hit it dead on as soon as you said, like, if you like without application, certain stuff like that is just information is just sitting there. Yeah, it's just it has no value essentially.
You can know all this stuff and not know what to do with it. In that point,
right?
It's pointless.
Yeah, it's like with courses. Like if you really look online, and I think I was taking a course about taxes, and one of the greatest things I ever heard in my life, it said scam stands for still confused about money, right? So whenever you see people online and they're always selling courses and they're selling information, oftentimes people will buy those courses, they'll buy that, and they'll never apply it. So they're like, oh, wow, this person's always trying to sell something to me, whatever. But when you buy something for the first time, you really immerse yourself into it. And then now you're learning and you're applying that information. You start to see how valuable it is. So when all these guys are telling guys to better themselves and learn how to talk to women, like if I'm telling you, you have to do A through Z in order to be able to get a woman, and you just listen to A through Z and you start trying to apply Z without doing A through Y, you're never going to get to that level. There's a bunch of people who don't even do the field research. Oftentimes the people who are talking and become these large figureheads, they've done the work. They have the sweat equity. The people who take it to the extreme, they never actually try it. They're the person who's just sitting behind the screen doing absolutely nothing with their life. And then all of a sudden they think they can immediately jump to where they have to go overnight. It doesn't work like that. It takes years and months. You have to be able to do the work.
Sliding it like a wet flow. Already fried from the get-go. Alligators look like gecko. Everything I do, they echo. Big facts might